Rock and roll has always been about rebellion, but behind the music, many rock stars carried heavy shadows. Some fought addiction, some battled trauma, others faced personal demons that shaped the music we still celebrate today. In today's video, we're counting down 10 legendary rock stars with dark and troubled pasts, stories of pain, struggle, chaos, and in some cases, redemption. Let's get into it. Axl Rose is one of rock's most explosive personalities, but the fire inside of him didn't come out of nowhere. Long before Guns N' Roses took over the Sunset Strip, Axl endured a turbulent childhood in Indiana. He grew up in an extremely strict household, faced physical and emotional abuse, and didn't even learn the identity of his real father until he was a teenager. That discovery opened the door to a series of traumatic events and emotional fallout that would haunt him for decades. His volatile behavior during the Appetite for Destruction and Use Your Illusion eras, which included walking off stage, getting into fights, and showing up late, reflected years of unresolved pain. Axl Rose may have become one of the greatest frontmen of all time, but the darkness of his youth shaped the man the world saw on stage.
Just like the Pied Piper that rests.
Before he formed Megadeth and helped define thrash metal, Mustaine was fired from Metallica because of his violent behavior and uncontrolled drinking. But that behavior had roots. Mustaine grew up in poverty, raised by a mother constantly fleeing an abusive father. That instability laid the foundation for anger issues that spiraled into addiction. Yet Mustaine's tale is also one of triumph. Through rehab, discipline, and fierce determination to prove himself, he turned his life around and built one of the most influential thrash bands of all time. His troubled past still echoes throughout his lyrics, but his comeback remains legendary. Pantera's Phil Anselmo delivered some of the most aggressive, powerful vocals in metal, but behind that intensity was a life full of pain, literally. During the band's 1990 peak, Anselmo suffered from chronic back problems that led him down a dangerous path of painkillers and heroin. At the same time, fame magnified his inner battles, depression, addiction, and the growing pressure of Pantera's success. While some of his public controversies damaged his reputation, his darkest period nearly killed him, most famously the night he overdosed and had to be revived. Anselmo's story is a reminder that even the toughest voices in metal can be carrying unbearable weight. There's still more to come, including two grunge icons who lost their battles with addiction way too soon, and one of the most beloved vocalists in the history of metal who also had a troubled past. Lane Staley's haunting vocals defined Alice in Chains, and tragically, the darkness in his voice mirrored the darkness in his life. Staley struggled with addiction from early childhood, a struggle that worsened after the death of his fiancée, Demery Parrott. Her loss shattered him, and he withdrew from the world. Even his fans continued to adore his music. Despite his iconic work on albums like Dirt and Jar of Flies, Staley spent the final years of his life isolated, battling heroin addiction until it ultimately took his life. His music remains some of the most emotionally raw of the entire grunge era because it came from a place of deep, unfiltered pain. It's hard to imagine rock history without Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, the madman of metal. But his over-the-top antics came from a life of hardship. Growing up in a working-class family in Birmingham, England, Ozzy suffered from dyslexia, bullying, and poverty. His teenage years included jail time for burglary, and once fame arrived, so did extreme drug and alcohol abuse. The Black Sabbath years were wild, but the solo years were even crazier. Overdoses, arrests, and chaotic behavior fueled by substances that would have killed anyone else. Yet despite everything, Ozzy survived and became one of rock's most unlikely success stories.
Lost control, the face.
Kurt Cobain changed music forever with Nirvana, but the pressures that came with fame only intensified the demons he'd carried since childhood. Cobain grew up surrounded by instability. His parents' divorce hit him hard, leaving emotional scars he never fully recovered from. As Nirvana exploded into superstardom, Cobain's heroin addiction, depression, and discomfort with fame spiraled out of control. The world saw a generation's voice. Kurt felt completely lost. His tragic death in 1994 cemented him as one of rock's most iconic, yet heartbreaking figures, a brilliant artist who couldn't escape his inner darkness. I still have 4 more artists to talk about. Coming up, we have someone who actually died and was brought back to life, and then someone who found salvation through Christianity. Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx lived the kind of life you'd expect from a rock star in LA during the 80s, except even by rock standards, his story is extreme. Sixx grew up abandoned by parents and raised by grandparents, leaving him with a lifelong sense of rejection. As an adult, he dove into alcohol and heroin with terrifying intensity. In 1987, his addiction hit the ultimate low when he overdosed and was declared clinically dead, until paramedics brought him back with 2 adrenaline shots to the heart. Sixx turned his near-death moment into the memoir, The Heroin Diaries, and ultimately used his past to fuel recovery, creativity, and resilience. His story is proof that even the darkest paths can lead to redemption. Korn's co-founder guitarist Brian Head Welch lived through fame, addiction, and spiritual awakening. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Korn's constant touring, massive success, and the pressure of staying on top pushed Welch into a crippling addiction to methamphetamine. His personal life fell apart, and he feared he'd lose his daughter because of his lifestyle. In 2005, Welch made a dramatic change. He left Korn, got clean, completely transformed his life through Christianity. Years later, he rejoined the band, but with a renewed sense of purpose and control. His journey remains one of the most powerful stories of personal rebirth in modern rock. I still have 2 more people on my list. Coming up, we have someone who overcame adversity after being raised in a toxic environment, and someone who is not technically a rock star, but is well respected in the community.
So close, no matter how far.
James Hetfield is one of metal's most iconic figures, but his strength was forged in a childhood filled with turmoil. Raised in a strict Christian Science household, Hetfield wasn't allowed to receive medical treatment, something that deeply affected him when his mother became ill and eventually died. Those emotions, anger, fear, repression, became the foundation of Metallica's most powerful lyrics. But Hetfield's life wasn't easy either. Fame and pressure drove him toward alcoholism, and by the early 2000s, it began tearing the band apart. His time in rehab in 2001 saved both his life and Metallica's future. Today, Hetfield's honesty about addiction and mental health resonates deeply with fans who see strength in vulnerability. Johnny Cash might not fit the modern rock star image, but make no mistake, he lived a lifestyle and paid the price. Cash grew up during the Great Depression, suffered the tragic death of his older brother Jack, and carried that trauma for the rest of his life. As his career exploded, Cash battled addiction to amphetamines and painkillers while dealing with the pressures of constant touring and growing fame. His arrests, collapses, near-fatal overdose in 1967 could have ended everything, but Cash fought back, rebuilt his life through faith and determination, and eventually recorded some of the most honest, emotional music ever made. Johnny Cash's journey from darkness to redemption earns him the top spot on this list. These rock stars didn't just create music, they lived it. The chaos, the heartbreak, the demons they battled all shaped the songs that continue to inspire, move, and connect with millions of fans. The stories remind us that behind every legend is a human being struggling with the same pain and vulnerability as the rest of us. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this countdown, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more rock and metal deep dives, and I will see you in the next video.